This is Blue July, and you're listening to the Be Someone podcast. Lights looking bright, the H got the vibe. She's my name on the signs, it's my time to shine. When I was cruising 45, and it crossed my mind that I shine like the sun and that I'll be someone.
Hey, welcome everyone to the Be Someone podcast. We are here at the beautiful Ome Kali Cafe, located in the Grogan's Mill Shopping Center where the old Randalls used to be. A big shout out to Miguel. Thank you for letting us use this beautiful place for the podcast. But without further ado, we've got Dr. Tarell Williams. Coach T-Will, as most folks know you by. How you doing today?
Doing great, Coach. Can't complain.
First and foremost, man, thank you for coming out and sharing your time. I know that you're a very busy man. You just took a new position over there at Brabham as the athletic director. And
Yes. Excited to get that going. I appreciate you guys having me. It's always a pleasure to come in and chop it up about latest events.
Yeah, well, I'm going to start off with your son, Tarell Williams, someone that's near and dear to my heart. I've had the opportunity, to watch your son grow. Golly, I think I've known y'all since he was, about 8?
Yeah.
And
8.
recently he just signed with Texas State. Repping up there.
There it is. Absolutely.
It was quite the journey,
Mm-hmm.
and it wasn't easy, but, at the end of the day, he got exactly to where, he was supposed to be. And
Right.
I kind of want to pick your brain on the whole NIL process, because I feel like there's some educating that needs to go on. So if you could, fill us in on that process and what it looked like from the inside.
Right. Before I get into it, on behalf of me and my family, we just want to thank you because that's the reason why we invited you to his signing day. You know the whole story, and you've been there from day one. And when we talked about all the hardships that he had to go through and the triumphs, and the resistance that he had to battle with. Part of that mental makeup that he had came from, the coaching when he was little. And as well as I know, a lot of times kids don't listen to their parents a lot of times and stuff. So you need that community around you to really help you develop your kids. And so you were one of those, prominent extensions, that actually reached him. You spoke his frequency to the point to where even if it wasn't through football but it was basketball, the way that you put in that never say die, competitive, resilient attitude in him, he told me, he's like, Dad, gotta have Coach Ortiz, at the signing and stuff. And so I don't think you'll ever know how much that meant, to hear him sound like he doesn't forget where he comes from, but he knows who gave him his roots and his foundation. So he's had many coaches since then, but you're one of the ones that made the big impact that helped him get through all of that stuff. So I felt like you needed to know that before we went on with the whole NIL thing.
Wow, he did a heck of a job, though, letting me know, man. Throw my name out there, and I bumped Luke on the arm and said, man, look, this old man's about to cry.
Skywalker, man. It's Luke, man. They've been buds, for a long time. So, we just want to say thank you, man. We appreciate it. We appreciate it.
Hey, anything for the Williams kids, man.
Good kids. The NIL, it's a strange movement because a lot of people have some yays and some nays about do they like it or do they not like it. I like it from the standpoint of it allows people to really negotiate their value. You have some people who don't even want to work at their crafts and they don't want to dig deep off into what it takes to make it to whatever level that they're supposed to make it to. And so when you find those people who do, in the whole business world, you're able to negotiate your work, and what you've actually put out there, for the community and for the consumers. However, in sports, it's kind of been like the gladiator type of arena, from a standpoint of entertain us to your death.
Yeah.
And we'll give you a standing ovation and drag you off the sand, and then be the next gladiator to come in. So you're talking about busted up knees, concussion, CTE issues, all kind of stuff. The WNBA, female sports, it's a lot of things to where student athletes and athletes alike, professionals were not getting what they were, their just due. And so the NIL allowed the amateur athlete to say, hey, I can now say I can take charge of who I am in my work, and I can negotiate, those things, name, image, likeness. And they're battling in the courts right now for the do's and the don'ts. They're splitting the fine hairs and stuff like that. But I think it helps a lot of kids, especially those who are socially or economically disadvantaged. It helps them to say, I could change the livelihood of my family just by working hard and doing what God has given me naturally to do.
Yeah.
Because if you recall, a lot of kids used to say back in the day, hey, I gotta make it to the league. And they would leave school early, and they would do different things to try to even take illegal drugs,
Yep.
steroids, whatever, I have to make it, to the pros so that I can help my family. Well, now with name, image, likeness, what a lot of people need to understand is when you can negotiate your value at such a young age, you could change that to where a kid might not leave college early. You see it? And so they can stay and get that degree.
Yeah.
Okay. If they get, God forbid, a career-ending injury, they don't have to worry about, I didn't make it to the league. You still have name, image, likeness that has done something to where you could set away a nest egg or whatever. Or if you have a financial advisor to help you with that money, then you could still change and impact your family's economic, trajectory.
Yeah, I was watching the Johnny Manzel documentary. I believe it was on Netflix, and it was astonishing to me that he was having to do the things he was doing in order, just to keep his head above water. And when you
Right.
think about all the things that athletes have to do, the practices, the two-a-days, they have to be students. They're on planes. There's media. Like
Right.
it's absurd to me that the kids weren't receiving something on the back end more than the scholarship. And I really felt bad for Johnny because I did feel like he was put in a position to where he had to do this, so to speak,
Yeah. And there are so many Johnnies.
everywhere.
There's so many Johnnies. I mean, there's so many athletes. Like if you go through any school in America, then all those schools, they have athletic departments. They have an athletic, period, possibly, where they're training for a particular sport. And those kids are not getting off into those sports, a lot of them just for hobby. At some point in time, they have a dream of saying, maybe I can go to the next level. Maybe I can do this or that for whatever reason to help my family, or it's just the love of the game. There are more people, way more people that don't make it than there are that make it. And so when you get banged up and busted up and you get thrown away as acceptable casualties or collateral damage, then what happens to those people? We don't know. We don't inquire.
We don't even
All
care.
we care about is who made it in our prize picks, or fantasy, those fantasy football, fantasy basketball, baseball, what have you. But it's so many people that are acceptable casualties that are out there. And I'm like, the NIL, in my humble judgment, helps with that, saying, hey, I don't have to go to this level, because everybody has a level that they're supposed to go to, and everybody's athleticism has an expiration date on it. So I can get to this level, and that's okay. Now you have less soccer dads, out there, being hard on their kids. I'm like, listen, you don't have to get way up here. If your peak was here, that's perfectly fine. You can work with that, but you still have compensation aligned in place because of the service that you gave, right? Is there.
Yeah, and then you look at the stadiums and the arenas, they're packed. The merch that's being sold, even with your likeness, right, with the same number.
Yeah.
So they've been
Yeah.
colleges have been reaping the benefits,
They
of these
have.
athletes for years, and
Yeah.
I think it's about high time, that the kids got their just dues. How has it affected the recruiting process?
It's affected now. That's where it gets kind of sticky, to where people have points, because now you have maybe certain people who try to cut certain corners and manipulate kids. That's why it's good to have if you don't have a good home team with your family base, you have a good extended network like coaches like yourself, I was just referring to with my son, that can really give sound advice and stand on sound principles and values to say, hey, this is what, we can do. These are our standards. These are our non-negotiables. These are our non-starters. Oh, these things right here, we have some wiggle room with. You have those people in those people's places to say, hey, we can advise you. But you have some coaches who say, hey, we want to win at any cost. Or we have some boosters that might say, hey, at any cost, for our alma mater. So what would we be willing to go to? Prime example, you go way back in the day with the Pony Express.
Yes.
Out of control, and you had so much money being slipped out, in the eye and under the table.
Yep.
You look at that movie, the Program, right? With that program, you saw people going to like dinners and galas and all these type of things, and you would have someone come up and shake a hand, and there's an envelope, and and inside it was like, oh, $500, where'd it come from, And so it's almost like a drug deal.
Yes.
To get kids to come to your program. Blindside, the movie, when they were talking about, hey, well, we got people who potentially may be doing certain things to filter kids to certain universities in which they just happen to be graduates of, What are you doing? I'm giving them a place to stay, or buying them, food here and there, or, sponsoring certain things with the schools. So that's when the waters get a little bit murky, when it comes down to that topic. What is too much? And are you putting too much on the table for a young mind to really process, especially if they don't have the foundation?
Yeah. Well, on the high end, how much money is being thrown around?
Oh my goodness.
Are we talking millions?
Yeah. You're talking millions. You're talking millions that are being thrown around because you have outside entities who are investing in, and they're negotiating and brokering contracts.
Are these boosters, or are these
boosters,
local businesses?
Yeah, boosters, businesses, affiliates, with certain schools, you name it. And no one knows if it just ends there. And that's where the debate comes in.
Okay.
Who are these people? Is it linked to maybe even gambling or whatever? You don't know.
So there's no cap
yet. But who's to say, how you can put a cap on one's value? Therein lies, the elephant in the room. Do you cap off NIL and say, okay, the most you can make is $3 million?
Well, I'm talking about capping the actual college, right? Because like the Houston Rockets have a salary cap that they have to adhere to. Are you saying that potentially like some of these colleges have like bottomless pits when it comes?
When you look at the blue bloods, Bama's,
Alabama,
Texas, Georgia, those blue bloods, those mainstays in college football, basketball. When you look at Power 5 versus Group of 5, whoever has the goal makes the rules. And that's why when you saw Coach Saban come out, I'm like, wait a minute, what's going on here, and he was upset. And Coach Prime was like, even though they did the Aflac commercial together, Coach Prime was like, chill out a little bit, Coach Saban, we're just trying to use our resources to get in. I'm using celebrities. I'm using some of my Hall of Fame buddies to do this, that, and the third, and maybe to get kids to come here. And then we use NIL, with outside entities, coming in and helping. That's no different than when Alabama became a metropolis, and they were like, hey, all the top fives, you might have 3 top fives in the country at the same position at Bama. You might have the number 1, the number 2, and the number 5 cornerback all commit to Alabama, when they were just running through everybody. And so that's what I think Coach Prime was talking about. Like, hey, now when we level the playing field and say everybody can say, hey, negotiate your value. Can you sell us on what's important to us? Sometimes it's playing time. Sometimes it's, can I get my own studio apartment? So that my little brother or little sister can come to school, and maybe I can help them pay for their college, their tuition through my NIL, money, and they can stay with me, in my apartment or whatever. It's so many different dynamics that are in there. But I think a lot of people want to focus on, oh, but it could be corrupt. No, I think it helps people because even in our regular society, if you have people that work their whole lives or whatever, and they get banged up, what do we file for? Based on the service we did, disability. We have all things out there to help you. But if it's an athlete, you just got a torn ACL and say, I blew my knee out in college. Yeah, but I had a good run at it for 2 years. That's it. And now you clock in at Kroger.
Yeah, just like the program, right? Mr. Mack,
There it is.
middle linebacker, tears
Yes.
his knee up, and
Yes.
then, just another story.
Yeah. So in society, since we live in a capitalistic society, uh, I think that it's only right, that athletes get to negotiate their work if they're putting in that work. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to switch gears. Let's go to actual Fury, where you're the defensive coordinator. You're also helping out with the recruiting end. Tell me a little bit about this year's group.
This year's group is a dynamic group under the leadership of Coach, Mo Grant. He's been doing it for a while. Team Texas Fury is a special 7-on-7 organization because I've looked around at different organizations, and this is the only one that sets that family atmosphere, but it's also one of those like never leave a soldier behind type of components.
And Coach Grant and yourself are both military.
Both military, so we have that mindset. All kids, if you have a certain level of talent and you do the right things, you follow the blueprint, there's a certain place where you can find that you could possibly play at the next level. Whether that be JUCO, whether that be small D1, D2, D3, work your way up. And because of the transfer portal, all you need to do is just get invited to the party and then transfer out. Bet on yourself is kind of what we're teaching them. It used to be where Fury was based off of kids all out of California, Florida, Louisiana, and now they've kind of centralized themselves in the Montgomery County area to kind of help these kids in this area who don't get the proper exposure.
Yeah.
And the roster is stacked. You're looking at a lot of underclassmen like a Jermaine Bishop, who's been offered by a lot of people across the country, Power 5. He came in as a fantastic freshman at Willis High School. You're looking at Mark Jones Jr. at Conroe High School, fantastic free safety that's going into his senior year, finished the year off with like 3 picks, came on really, really fast at the end. Big Byers, the big running back out of Lake Creek, and his quarterback, Eli Marcos, all on the team, doing some big things, and they've just started receiving their offers. 6'6" Colorado offer from Deion Sanders, Romeo Stevens. Yeah, he's on the team as well. And they share duties with other 7-on-7 teams, but it's good to see that they have that home team where all of them can come together and say, let's go and ball out, and they still have the backing that they need, all the way from personal players cards that are offered to them, write-ups, through Fury and through Prep Red Zone, and affiliates with Rivals and 247 Sports that really pub the athletes. So a lot of shared documentation goes out behind the scenes with every athlete that's on the roster, developmental to offered up athletes. They go on college camps together. I'm talking about renting charter buses and taking them across the country to hit some of these camps to really get seen.
And that's not the norm, is it?
It's not the norm. Most of the time when you see 7-on-7, you're going to see you play for our team for the 7-on-7 season.
Yeah. And
we'll see you next year. Fury is one of those organizations where it's 365 and it's equal opportunity. If you want the smoke, then come get it. And we will market you just the same, whether you're a starter or whether you're a backup or whether you're one of those developmental players like, hey, they're just too big, too fast right now. Okay, then we take mental reps. You never come off the field, whether it's physically, emotionally, or psychologically, or whether it's just academically learning the X's and O's of what's really going on in between the lines. You never come off the field, and you'll be marketed and developed that way. If there's training you need, then they have affiliates where you can outsource it to different people. Prime example, Olympic gold medalist, phenomenal sprint coach, Derek Brew. LSU All-American, set the world record in the 4x4 with Michael Johnson. He's the sprint coach at Conroe High School. Trains all kind of athletes all around, Texas, college, all the way down to Tiny Tots. And he produces, champions, state champions. Has Conroe running fast now, but he also gets athletes coming in with his business, next level performers, that I send people to him and say, hey, this kid has this and that and the third, but they're missing that speed component. I know speed. Anybody knows me, I deal with speed.
Yeah.
But if I don't have the time because I have too many irons in the fire, I know for a fact if you want quality, Derek Brewer's your guy. And so we outsource to different people.
What is the value of networking in the recruiting game?
It's priceless. Everybody knows somebody that knows somebody that knows something about something, right? So you're constantly saying, hey, I know a few people, but those people know someone. It's like the pyramid thing without the Ponzi scheme. Yeah. So it just spreads like a good virus. And word of mouth is huge, especially when you have a product that you put out there and it's quality. So now you can call someone and say, hey, I got somebody for you. In whatever sport, softball, baseball, basketball, track. And they're like, okay, I know what you've seen in the past. I'm going to take a closer look at it. And there's so many people that are out there like, oh, well, we have these connections, yet, where's the fruit?
Yeah.
And kids get disappointed, with that approach. I believe same way with marketing and networking, the same way with NIL. If that kid puts in the work and they make their value rise like stock, they should get compensated for that work because there are so many who may choose the polar opposite of that.
If you could give some advice, to future athletes, what would be like the big three things that you would tell them that recruiters are looking for?
Recruiters, most people think it's their highlights that they're looking at. Recruiters, the highlights are things that help a recruiter say, okay. Like if you go to the doctor and the doctor hits you on the knee and you get the little reflex.
Yeah.
That's what a highlight is. It's going to say, oh, reflex, you got my attention now. Now they're going to break down all your game film. They're going to break down like full game. They're going to break down your body language. You have to understand that whether you're ahead by 20 or whether you're down by 40, your love and passion for the game has to show there. Because if you can't do it in front of just grandma and grandpa and girlfriend or second cousin twice removed, in the stands, man, it's only like 5,000 or less. What will you do in front of 40, 60, 80,000? You wouldn't be able to handle it. So that's one thing. Another thing would probably be give it all or give it up. It is a skill set in itself to be able to give everything you have every time on every rep. That's what you're chasing. If you can give it all, it's going to show on film.
Film doesn't lie.
It does not lie. So if you can give it all the time, then there's a place for you. If you have just a little bit of talent, it has to develop. So don't worry about comparing yourself to this person, that person. Maximize what you have before you acknowledge what you don't have. Because the recruiters are going to come on campus and their job is to shake hands and give you an evaluation or give you a look. But their job mainly is not to really offer you. Their job is to cross you off a list. See it? You're like, I shook hands with the recruiting coordinator from Arkansas. Yes, you did, son. You did. And did you get an offer? Well, no, but he said that, to keep grinding. He's going to tell you that. But if you stand out to him, the next thing he's going to do is get on that phone, and he's going to be talking to somebody that might be in Arkansas. He might take that phone, and he might use all the pixels that he has in that phone, and he's going to take a picture or a video of your body or how you move. Then you might get another visit later on with the iPad or whatever, where they're filming you going through drills and all kinds of stuff like that, because they want to do the checks and balances. And before you know it, you'll start getting like text messages and stuff like that. Hey, this is Coach so let's stay in contact. See, that's where the negotiation starts to take place. But if they just shake hands with you and walk off, then that means you were missing something that they needed for their program. High school students must understand that if they don't get that offer right, they lose their whole livelihood most of the time. You and I have coached in high school or in UIL, and you at the junior high level, me at the high school, now at the junior high, and if we don't do well in the season,
There's always another year.
And guess what? How much of our salaries are covered, with teaching versus coaching?
Yeah.
See it? So we can afford to say, hey, we're not going to bring you back as a coach. You'll be fine. You just lost a stipend. But those coaches, they lose everything. So 1 minute you're here at University of whatever in Texas, the next minute you're in Iowa, and you have to leave your family behind to take this job to make sure that the lights stay on, the mortgage gets paid. So it's very, very serious business when it comes down to recruiting. And so if they have to take it that serious, then you have to take your talent serious and not waste a rep.
That's the least you can do, right?
That's the least you can do.
What's some advice that you have for parents on their end? Like, how could they help or how could they potentially hurt the recruitment process, for their child?
Right. One of the main things that I've seen is parents on social media. You can't put yourself in the place of a beggar. What are you guys waiting on? Offer him up now. Those type of things, because that's almost like you're saying that the recruiter can't do his job. Because now, how does that parent look? Let's say we do offer you and you go to our university. You don't get the playing time right away that you want. What are you doing? Send, and now it's out there, in the Twitter sphere and everything else. So social media savvy parents are great things to have. I would say help your kid by investing in your kid. Instead of buying Jordans and everything else, make sure you're getting their nutrition right, their supplementation right, getting them on a regimen, actually paying trainers who specialize in what your child might be missing or who can enhance what they already have that's popping off the screen to recruiters. Next, supporting your coaching staffs. If you have any questions about different things with the programs, then talk. Shortest distance between two people is communication. Talk with the coaching staffs and say, okay, what is it, your child or your athlete needs to improve on? And then go out and invest in those things. Because I think it comes down to the in-between time where you win or you lose.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that, and this goes for parents and it goes for the athlete. Here in Texas, everybody, for the most part, has an athletic period. Every one of those athletes has a pillow that they lay their heads down on at night. They go to sleep on at some point, whether they get through FaceTiming or whatever, with whomever, right? There's a time span that goes on between that before they get back to that athletic period where everybody's doing power cleans, they're putting up shots, they're doing bench press, they're running gassers or whatever. That in-between time, what are you doing? Parents and athletes. Attitude is a reflection of leadership, and it starts at home. So you can't point the finger at the coach because you're responsible for the in-between time. Some people get out of that athletic period, and then they go and they train some more.
Yep.
They go and study film. Instead of watching TikToks that are funny, they watch TikToks that they're passionate about, skill sets that they need to acquire. A lot of people are getting beat in the in-between time.
Yes.
And so that's probably the biggest thing that I would say. What are you doing in the in-between time? Because if you lose the in-between time, that's where you actually lost. It wasn't Friday night. It wasn't Thursday at a basketball game. It wasn't when they popped the gun in the 100 meters. No, that's just karma.
Yeah, and if you look at the actual time and how it's spent, there's much more in between time, right? Than there is training time.
Yes.
So it's a majority of it, is on you.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the psychology side, because I know that you're a sports psychologist, and I love picking your brain when it comes to the inner workings of the human mind. What is it that you see kids struggling with today? Let's talk about on the field and then possibly in the classroom also.
Identity crisis is the main thing that I see, because we're trained now in our society to be externally stimulated instead of internally inspired. And what I mean by that is, if you go to a gym, most of the time you'll see people um, either look at the people who have been in there for a while and get intimidated. Look at how they're built, how they look at the clothing that they wear, or whatever it is, how the people around them, where they're telling stories. They have a good friend group that they work out with, and it can be intimidating. So you're comparing yourself to other people, or you have the other ones that simply just don't do anything at all because of fear, false evidence appearing real, that I'm not going to be good enough anyway, so why does it matter? So they don't even try.
They don't even try.
I would rather not try than to get my heart broken trying.
In essence, I never failed, right? If I didn't try.
So it's an identity crisis thing. A lot of people are not curious about who they're supposed to become, in contrast to, hey, I could, just sit back and do whatever, and let whatever happen to me. Life is going to happen on purpose, so you should happen on purpose too with whatever you were given. And I think that with kids, I think it's a quote that says, broken boys grow to be broken men.
Broken man.
Yeah, something like that. And that goes for ladies too, because before you're man, woman, rich, poor, tall, short, wealthy, broke, you're human. So let's take that same quote now from a psychological component and say, okay, broken people are people who are afraid to become who they are people who have self-doubt or an identity crisis, grow up to become adults with those same issues, because if you don't deal with it, it's going to deal with you. At some point, you can't run from a boogeyman that's within. Mm-hmm. So that identity crisis is the main thing that I see when we're dealing with all of us, not just kids, the parents of athletes, who are coming through the ranks looking at other athletes. Man, that intimidation factor, it stymies and it stagnates, a lot of kids. And it stagnates a lot of parents as far as with their tutelage and teaching and mentorship, because we don't want to mess it up as parents. What if I push too hard? What if I don't push enough? It's a lot of question marks, which creates stress. And stress, if you draw a question mark and it has a line, that crooked line, right, with the dot up underneath it, and the more stress you put on it, it straightens that line out. Now that question mark becomes a what? Exclamation point. Now we got some big issues. And so that's where, from the sports psych or the psychological component, I feel like we have our issues.
How do we remedy that?
We go from teaching everybody to believe in yourself, to get curious about, knowing yourself. As we talked about earlier, if you change one word, you've changed a lot, if not everything. You can say, I believe God exists, or you can say, I know God exists. The person that says, I believe God exists, you can hear that anywhere. Yeah. Any church service, at a gas station, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, hey, But when a person looks at you with intensity and say, I know God exists, then you say something happened to that person, they had an encounter of some sort that totally made them oblivious to anything other than there's something higher than us, outside of us and in us and through us, that moves us to achieve greatness. How do you take that to sports? You can say, I believe I'm going to be successful today or win, or I know.
Yeah.
And when you say, I know, that is a dangerous creature, because that's the cat that's in the corner that's going to come out, and they don't understand that they're not supposed to fight that hard. The cat's not supposed to claw at the pit bull. It's supposed to run. So why is it fighting so hard? Because it knows something. It knows it might have those teeth, but I have these claws, and I have cat-like reflexes that's faster than that pit bull. And if I can just get it off, it's going to hurt him more than it's going to hurt me. So that's what I feel like, we have to remedy it with, is first start with words sound power. Acknowledging we got to move from believing to knowing. We got to go from being convinced to being, confident to being convinced. You know, we can't have confidence in our abilities or our opportunities. We got to be convinced, hey, these things are here for a reason. You know, this isn't by happenstance.
Yeah, it's not if, it's when.
Yeah, it's going to happen. And when you have that mindset, whatever it is that's in your destiny has to come to you. The law of attraction. You don't attract what you want. You attract who you already are.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I think this is a good segue, you know, into your writings. I know that you're about to release a children's book, and it's all about, you know, the space in between these two ears right here. If you
Right.
could go into that a little bit.
Yeah, actually, book just got released. So just got published. Following your path, you know, you published quite a few children's books now. So that inspired me. So I actually wrote a children's book during COVID. And it's called Monsters in the Attic. So it's dealing with two twin kids, you know, at a school, and it's a lot of subliminal messaging in there in the school of life. The school's name is like, or School of Thought rather, and you know, in a town of life, and they are getting in trouble. They sit in the dark part of the classroom, and they're getting in trouble all the time. And everybody's out playing, and they have a conversation. You know, and like, well, why do you keep getting in trouble? And like, you might laugh at me if I say this. And it was like, well, no, go ahead and tell me. I won't laugh. I have monsters in my attic. And what we're trying to accomplish by saying monsters in the attic is children don't know how to express mental health, traumas, fears, abuse, all those different type of things. And so when we approach that through what we call in clinical psychology or psychology at its base, play therapy, it lightens the mood or stress. It still has that question mark there, but it doesn't. We don't allow it to turn into an exclamation point. We relieve that from them through play therapy and say, okay, it's just like cartoons. Now tell us what happened. And when you have a way to where you can articulate at your own level, you can learn more about what's going on with the children, and you can better help them instead of assuming. And so we start trying to teach them how to navigate their mind through these characters that they see making all this noise in their head, and let them know that hey, there's a way to kick all those monsters out of the attic. And so they go on an adventure trying to accomplish this goal and to see if they can get some relief, and maybe one day they can go outside and play again. So it's yeah.
Yeah, this
I'm
is
proud
just
of
the
it.
first, right? Like
It's
you have
just
something else that you're working on too?
This is just the first in a series of children's book, but I have another one that I'm actually working on now. It's not necessarily for children, but it's more so a read for everybody. And I'm teaching how to, through my own trial and errors and intense living, as well as with my own, you know, education, you know, coming from dropping out of high school at a certain point to going back in and being blessed to accomplish certain things, and all the way up to my doctorate degree, and navigating the mental minefields and emotional minefields of life, of disappointment and triumph, and sometimes in the same day. So how do you feel
That's
about
a hell of
those?
a day.
Yeah, you know, it was a big day. And so how do you navigate those things? And how do you see yourself in the world? And more importantly, how does the world see you fitting in it? You know, so in this book, it's called The Hardest Part is Behind the Eyes. Subtitle is Kintsugi. Kintsugi is a Japanese word and art form for the art of brokenness. And what they do is they take anything that's been broken, and they take their time and they put it back together with gold.
Yes, there's beauty in the breaks.
Yes. And so I'm trying to communicate to the readers the art of why what happened to you happened, so that you can help someone else put it back together. You know what I'm saying? And you can tell the beauty of the story by using word, sound, power, and psychology.
Yeah, and there is something beauty, and that's like where all the nuggets are, right? It's like in
Yes.
our failures,
Yeah. Yep.
you
There's
know.
no there's no failure. There's no losing. There's only learning. It's failing when you stop, when motion stops. That's when the failure happens.
Yeah, but in other words, too, like we just figured out another way how not to do it,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
What was the quote? Who said I've never failed. I've just found thousands of ways
Oh, I
that
think it was
didn't work.
Thomas Edison. It was the light bulb.
Yeah. So I mean, nuggets are all around you, you know, and that's where it's sound power because it made you think and like, wait a minute. Instead of looking at a glass half empty, hey, you're looking at the
Simple.
sun will come out tomorrow, and then you can push.
Yeah, what you've got a lot on your plate. Like what's the next 3 to 5 years look like to you? Like if I could give you a script and then just have life come out the way that you wrote it, what does the next 3 to 5 look like? Because like you're talking about facilities and partnerships and
Yes.
you're a man that's got a lot on
Well,
the stove.
yeah. I made myself a promise, and a mandate not to set rules for myself anymore, but to meet the standard. What is the standard? The same way I would coach it, you do the stuff for yourself. You're your first coach, right? So, what is my standard? I know what I bring to the table as far as with what's in my own head. And far too often, the reason why I want to put that in a book is because my stagnation came from talking about what had to be perfect instead of what was possible. And just this year, well, actually last year, I finished the doctorate, checked that off the list. Uh, Before then, I finished the master's with my clinical psychology, checked that off the list. Then I came back and followed your pursuits, and I said, you know what, I'm gonna write a children's book, and I had written it, but it was just sitting dormant. Published it, working with Derek Brew now, Coach Brew. We're in the early stages of discussing whether we want to open up a sports complex, training speed and velocity and combine training, those type of things, because we talk, at least 4 times a day, all about track, all about speed, mechanics, biomechanics, everything, so he has a passion for it, like I have a passion for it. And so we're thinking about, doing some Captain Planet, let our powers combine, type of thing. So we're looking at that. I really want to publish this book. I have to get it out of me. The hardest part is behind the eyes, because lips will say anything,
Yeah.
but people need to understand when you're talking to someone, you can see it, in their eyes. When you say someone's hurting or whatever, oh, I'm good.
No, you're not.
No, I can see it. Where do you see it in the eyes? Yeah. Doorways to the soul. So I want to show people that if you look in the mirror into your own eyes, you can navigate that. And I'm going to show you how to change the wording, in there through therapeutic concepts, and instead of motivation, inspiration internally.
Yeah.
Change things. So we have that going on. Me and the missus,
Harriet.
old Harriet, a lot of people know her as Harriet, but the missus, Shelly, she really wants to get into the gym thing as well. So that's in the future work. So that's why I started talking with Coach Brew with that and saying, you know what, hey, we could do some stuff. We could do some damage, in the world of speed.
Make sure y'all leave a little spot for an ultimate prospect, like a little office space or something.
Let's do it. I'm telling you, it's all about, community and networking, and everybody pulling each other up instead of tearing each other down.
100%.
And it's so hard to find genuine people that over the years, they're the same.
Oh, we've got a track record, man, like yourself.
Yeah.
And the kids and the family, like there's a track record. Golly, almost what, like 15,
Yeah.
Not 15, probably closer to 12.
Yeah.
But 12 years, of consistency and excellence and just like practicing what you preach.
Yeah. And I tell you what, I've come across some good people. But I've come across, and those good people may have good people skills, those things, but I've come across some outstanding human beings. And that's not taking anything away from those good people. They're very good at what they do. They're very good communicators and organized or whatever. But when you come across a good human being, it's for life.
Yeah.
It's for life. And so that's why I said when you talking about, hey, cannot forget about family. Can't forget about
I
it.
see Dom Toretto over
Yeah,
there.
can't forget about family, man. And so it's us against everybody, when it comes down to that.
Well, I really want to thank you, for coming on the show. I know we've been talking back and forth about it, and I think it was probably meant to be that we weren't able to cross paths sooner
Hmm.
because, like, now we had this wonderful conversation in this beautiful spot,
Right.
and I got the whole team, around. It's pretty cool to look around and see
Yeah.
Josh and Natalia, my man Dan over there. And
I'm telling you, it's crazy. It's crazy because, as I told you before we came in, I'm like, I remember when you started, and you was like, I'm just gonna try something, all the way back from when you actually wrote um, little inserts for every girl on your basketball team, something unique and special about them that they could read. And coincidentally, my daughter was on that team.
yeah, undefeated.
Yeah, yeah, and they balled out, and she would even say how much that meant to that little bitty paragraph. She like, Coach Ortiz sees me. He went to the micro, with little things that he saw about me, in contrast to me blending in and just saying I'm wearing a Knox jersey
Yeah.
or what have you. Tice, I gotta have Coach, what I'm saying, at my signing. He doesn't know how much it meant to me, when he did this or that, or he said, hey, Tice, what are you doing today? Ain't talked to me in maybe 3-4 months or whatever. Hey, come to the gym. Let's
go
get some
shoot.
shots up with you. Let's go shoot and just talk. It meant a lot because he was going through a lot. And there's some things that mom and dad cannot. There's places you can't reach.
Yeah.
That God sends another person to truly help. And it offsets and it blows anything else that an adversary may have put on that person's heart or mind or in their path out the water. Or as the scripture says, he put a ram in the bush, and you were that ram. So man, again, we appreciate you. That's why anytime you ask, I'm coming. I'm coming, man.
Well, I got love for y'all. But do me a
Already.
favor. I want you to throw all your socials out there, Fury socials.
Yeah. Team Texas Fury. You can look them up on Twitter. You have GSG Grant Sports Group also on Twitter. So Twitter's a big format as far as with the recruitment stuff like that. Mine is at On Purpose _WP on Twitter. What else do we have? You have Coach Brew is with Next Level Performer. That's on IG and on Twitter.
He's going to be a guest, too, in the near future.
Yeah. You got to get him on, man. I mean, he has some stories when you want to talk about the Olympics and the stress and the stuff that happens in the Olympic Village and stuff like that, man. He'll blow your mind. Yeah.
Sounds like some interesting stuff.
Yeah, he'll blow your mind with it, man, and just really running as one of the tops in the world for so long. And the kids that he's had come across his path that he's molded, I mean, he had one girl, Dynasty, here recently that went to USC, and now she's at Sam. She's back home at Sam, and his niece, Tiana, went to UNLV, and now she's back with Carl Lewis at UH.
Yeah.
And countless others. So I think that would be something big, for you guys to come in, get an Olympic champion, gold medalist in the 4x4 and bronze in the open.
Yeah. How often does someone get to say that they get to cross-pollinate with, someone that was the best in the world?
In the world.
In the world. At that time, like very few people get to say that. So
yeah, in the world.
Like to kind of thank you for making that happen because like it's the relationship I think between us that allowed me to reach out to Brew, and we didn't go to high school together, but we didn't know one another.
Yeah, y'all were the little Klein Forest crew. Yeah, I'm telling you, we used to hate running against Klein Forest.
They're still pretty good from what I understand.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's Coach Smitty. That's another one. That's one of my mentors. That's another one that you need to really get on the show. That guy is a wealth of knowledge when it comes down to the sport of track and field. He's even won a overall team state championship, and we go way back to 08 Nimitz, Aldine Nimitz, go Big Cougs, yeah, for those Cougars that are out there. But yeah, and then when I was there, I think Brittany Griner was there, Josh Huff, who was with the Eagles, Aldine
Dunking on people,
dunked on me. Yeah, I'm not even gonna tell that story about it. Yeah, but yeah. It was embarrassing, but yeah, she dunked on me. She said she was the female LeBron. I was like, there's no way, and yeah, she got me. But the setup for it was, yeah, I learned not to judge after that point. She humbled me. Yeah, she humbled me.
Well, thanks for coming on, man. From the bottom of my heart, man, I love you. Love the
Hey,
family.
hey, we love you back, man. You and yours, absolutely.
Yeah, one love, man. Well, hey, thank y'all for watching the Be Someone podcast. This is your host, Coach Chris Ortiz. We got Coach T. Will, Dr.
Boom.
Tarell Williams
Let's
here
do
at the Ome Collegiate Cafe. Y'all take care and have a blessed day and go out and be that someone.
Lights, cameras, action. Use the flow, molasses. Blue the line, my faction. Future brightening glasses. Applause from the masses.
This is the Be Someone podcast.